My concern is not that whether God is on my side. My greatest concern is to be on God's side, because God is always right. A refreshing morning to each one of you. Today again I am here in front of you to carry on with the fifth part of the chapter, the end of bipolarity, from the book The World Politics. I hope you all are doing well and you are revising all the videos that the teachers are uploading side by side. You are making notes of what is there in the PDFs. Okay, so we are talking about the disintegration of Soviet Union. If you remember, the title itself says the end of bipolarity, right? So with the disintegration of Soviet Union, there was also an end to the Cold War confrontations and the ideological differences that existed between the two superpower blocs led by USA and USSR. So before we begin with the recap of the chapter, there are a couple of slides left which I'll be talking to you in a nutshell. The first one is tensions and conflicts. I have briefed them in a way so that you understand that when the entire Soviet Union was banned, you remember in the previous video we had discussed that how the Communist Party was banned, how USSR disintegrated, and 90% of the industries in USSR were sold off at very low prices, and that was called as the largest garage sale in the human history. Okay, the rate of inflation became very high. The people had to lose their jobs, their savings were undone. So all that we'll discuss in the recap. So herein we'll discuss that how the entire country had a lot of tensions and conflicts. Most of the former Soviet republics are prone to conflicts and many have had civil wars and insurgencies. There were violent successions going on. There were human rights violations going on. The provinces were fighting over the river waters. That means apart from the outer disturbances, there were inner disturbances also. All this had led to instability, making life very difficult for the ordinary citizens. अब हुआ क्या कि लोगों को विश्वास ही नहीं हो रहा था कि जो गवर्नमेंट हमसे ये बोल रही है कि सब कुछ ठीक चल रहा है, एक्चुअली में कुछ भी ठीक नहीं था. There were two sides. One, the leaders were having a very lavish life. On the other side, the people did not have even basic amenities for themselves. In the previous videos, if you had watched, if you were very keen to what I was showing you in the slides and what I was talking, then I did make a mention that the condition of Russia became so poor that they had to import the consumer goods also. यानी कि जो कंज्यूमर गुड्स हैं वो तक प्रोड्यूस करने की उनके पास रिसोर्सेज नहीं थी, उनके पास पैसा नहीं था, एंड दैट इज व्हाई दोस फूड ग्रेन्स एंड कंज्यूमर गुड्स हैड टू बी इंपोर्टेड फ्रॉम अदर कंट्रीज. ये सिचुएशन आ गई थी कि जो इंटेलेक्चुअल क्लास और मिडिल क्लास है, दे टू वर मूविंग टुवर्ड्स पॉवर्टी, right? So that is why apart from the outer conflict, there were inner conflicts also. कोई human right violation कर रहा था, कोई river water के dispute पे लड़ रहा था. So there were lots of tensions and conflicts. I'm moving on to the next slide. The Central Asian republics are areas with vast hydrocarbon resources. This can come as a two marker also, which have brought them economic benefits. Central Asia has also become a zone of competition between outside powers and oil companies. If you remember, again when we were talking about Russia particularly, then we had seen that how slowly and gradually Russia had started exporting some of its natural resources. तो जब वो export करना उसने शुरू किया, किन तीन natural resources को, minerals, oil and natural gas, इन तीन resources को जब उसने export करना शुरू किया, थोड़ा पैसा आना शुरू हुआ country में, तो थोड़ा सा situation stable हुआ. But अब world को ये पता चल चुका था that there were no two superpowers. USSR and USA are not standing on the common platform. They are not sharing the common power. वो एक जैसे नहीं हैं. And now the world was gradually becoming unipolar. Unipolar मतलब एक ही सुपर पावर रह गई थी और वो थी अमेरिका. लोगों को भी बहुत हद तक ये पता था, बहुत अच्छे से पता था that they were not able to compete with the life of the West. तो जब उन्होंने कंप्लेन करना शुरू किया तो उनके लीडर्स ने बोला नहीं नहीं, वी आर ट्राइंग टू कम्पीट विद द वेस्ट, बट रियलिटी में सिचुएशन ये नहीं थी. अच्छे से यूएसएसआर के लोग ये देख पा रहे थे दैट दे आर वेरी like back in comparison to, they are very very lagging behind in comparison to the people of the west and the life of the west. I'm moving on to the next slide that tells me this is India and post-communist countries. That means post-communist यहाँ पर क्यों बोला गया? Because now we'll be discussing about the relations of India with other countries after the disintegration of USSR. India has maintained good relations with all the post-communist countries, but the strongest relations are still between those, that is India and Russia. India's relations with Russia are an important aspect of India's foreign policy. If you remember, in the first chapter when I was dealing about the Cold War era, there I did tell you that India did not join any of the superpower blocs. And it also encouraged many countries which were under the colonial rule to come out of the colonial rule, to become independent and not to join any superpower. One more important point, these countries which did not join any of the superpower blocs were called as the third world countries. Apart from that, I also want to tell you that when India did not join these superpower blocs, then its foreign policy became very important. It had a very strong foreign policy, and one man that was behind the entire scene of the foreign policy was the charisma of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, right? And Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru is wholly and solely responsible for making India's foreign policy so strong. So here we are talking about the relations of India and Russia, and their relations were very friendly and cordial, and they were made on a very good note, and that is why it also affected India's foreign policy. Indian heroes like Raj Kapoor or Amitabh Bachchan are household names in Russia and many post-Soviet countries. So when we talk on a cultural frame, जब हम culture की बात करते हैं, हम सिर्फ यहाँ पे finance, technology और science की बात नहीं कर रहे. We are even talking about the exchange of cultures between the two countries. तो अगर हम देखें तो हमारे जितने भी superstars हैं इंडिया के, जैसे कि whether you talk about Raj Kapoor, whether you talk about Amitabh Bachchan, okay, so all these superheroes have been very famous in Russia, and in many of the Indian films, the Russian artists have come and they have earned a good name, okay, and many of the films have been published there, and the people really love to watch Indian heroes on screen, okay. Russia and India share a vision of multipolar world order. तो multipolar world order इसलिए because they tolerate, there is a feeling of tolerance between both the countries. They exchange science, they exchange technology, they exchange culture, and they are very happily, exchanging their viewpoints and their ideologies. I am moving on to my next slide, and that shows me multipolar world order. अब हम multipolar world order क्यों कह रहे हैं? Because apart from USA, there are all the countries in the world which are trying to struggle to become better. You understand now? What kind of an order are we existing right now? हमें पता है कि एक ही सुपर पावर है और वो है USA, अमेरिका, right? But all the other countries are on a common platform and they are trying to become better. And that is why we call this order as multipolar world order. So there is a technical issue, I think. I'll just see what has happened. It tells me is the coexistence of several powers in the international system, collective security in which an attack or any other country is regarded as a threat to all the countries and requires a collective response. Greater regionalism, negotiated settlements of international conflicts, and independent foreign policy for all countries, and decision making through bodies like the UN that should be strengthened, democratized and empowered. UN, that is United Nations. So jitne bhi ye international bodies hain, they are also trying hard, like World Bank, like International Monetary Fund, that is IMF. All these international bodies are trying hard to maintain cordial relations among the countries of the world. India stands to benefit from its relationship with Russia on issues like Kashmir, energy supplies, sharing information on international terrorism and elsewhere. All these issues like issue on Kashmir have been settled by now, but here we are talking about the past years when these issues were actually existing and there was a lot of exchange of technology and information between the two countries. I am moving on to my next slide, and that shows me India is the second largest arms market for Russia. This is a very main point to be noted. the Indian military gets most of its hardware from Russia. Since जब एक ऐसा क्वेश्चन आएगा that write a note on the relationship between India and Russia, then you can note all these points. Okay, so the Indian military gets most of its hardware from Russia, and then since India is an oil importing nation, so Russia is important to India and has repeatedly come to the assistance of India during its oil crisis. तो जब भी कोई crisis हो जाती है, particularly oil crisis, then you know both these countries are supporting each other. India is seeking to increase its energy imports also. Now Russia is important for India's nuclear energy. ये तो हुआ India कैसे important थी, अब Russia कैसे important है India के लिए. It is a vice versa. They are like, you know, they always go hand in hand. They are important to each other, you can say. Then India's nuclear energy plans and assisted India's space industry by giving, for example, the cryogenic rocket when India needed it. Russia and India have collaborated on various scientific projects. As I was telling you, that not only culture, but when you talk about science and technology, then India and Russia had very cordial relations since the past. And they have been helping each other like anything. Why? Because they have friendly relations. Whether it is science, whether it is the exchange of information, whether it is nuclear energy, whether it is a project matter, they both have been helping each other. I'll just see if there is anything more to explain. Otherwise, we can have a quick recap. Alright, so this was the I'll just see that if there is any next slide. Right, so this was the end of you can say the entire chapter, and now we can have a very quick recap, children. Alright, so today what we studied that what were the tensions and conflicts in the entire USSR. Then we also studied that how the multipolar world order had existed. We also studied India's relations with Russia particularly, and how both these countries have exchanged their culture, their science, their information and technology. तो अब हम एक रिकैप में ये पढ़ेंगे कि हमने इस पूरे चैप्टर में क्या कवर किया. We had started with the disintegration of Soviet Union, right? We are talking about the end of bipolarity. तो bipolar से हम क्या समझते हैं? Bipolar मतलब two. Alright, so in the first chapter, the Cold War era, we talked about the tensions and the rivalries between the two superpower blocs. But in this chapter, we talked about the end of bipolarity, that is disintegration of USSR. So therefore, when the USSR disintegrated, then what happened? The Cold War confrontations had come to an end, and all the ideological disputes had also come to an end. It was very clear to the world that there is only one power, and that is USA, that is America. अब USSR में क्या चल रहा था? USSR की इतनी बुरी कंडीशन थी कि लोग सेटिस्फाइड नहीं थे. लीडर्स की लाइफ तो बहुत लैविश थी, बट वो कंटिन्यूसली अपने लोगों से कहे जा रहे थे कि नहीं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, एंड वी आर रिफॉर्मिंग द पॉलिसीज एंड वी आर नॉट लैगिंग बिहाइंड फ्रॉम द वेस्ट. But the people could see that they are lagging behind from the West. So the consequences of the disintegration of USSR was that one, the industries were sold off. 90% of the industries of USSR were sold off, and that is why that was called as the largest garage sale in human history. The second consequence was that the people had become so poor that they had to even import goods like what you call as consumer goods and food grains from other countries, and they were moving towards poverty, right? Apart from that, we were also discussing that another consequence was that the people had started believing that they are lagging behind from the West. They had started losing hope and trust in the government. They had no power of speech, and that is why they wanted a democratic setup. तब आया शॉक थेरेपी. शॉक थेरेपी क्या था? ट्रांजिशन, एक ट्रांजिशनल फेज, एक चेंज. वो चेंज क्या था? फ्रॉम अथॉरिटेरियन गवर्नमेंट टू डेमोक्रेटिक गवर्नमेंट, फ्रॉम सोशलिस्ट ऑर्डर टू कैपिटलिस्ट ऑर्डर. We also had a discussion about Michael Gorbachev, who had become a little authoritative in his rule, and that is why we saw that when the socialist order was replaced by capitalist order, then 90% of the industries were sold off at very low prices. And how were they sold? They were sold to the private individuals in a hope that now the government may become better because and the people may have a better life standard, but ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं हुआ. उसके बाद हमने देखा कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस ऑफ शॉक थेरेपी. कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस क्या थे? बहुत ही बुरे थे शॉक थेरेपी के, एंड द पीपल वर नॉट एबल टू हैव अ स्टेबल लाइफ. और जब वो प्राइवेट इंडिविजुअल्स के हाथ में चला गया तो यूएसएसआर हैड जस्ट बिकम अ पपेट, and the entire, you can say, drama was controlled by USA, by America. Okay, so USA is progressing and USSR had disintegrated, and now we have stepped into a multipolar order where we see that apart from USA, all other countries are trying to compete in order to become better than they are. Right? So this was the entire chapter. I hope you have understood the chapter and you are making notes. Apart from the videos that I am uploading, I'll be sending you the PPTs, I'll be sending you the PDF, the NCERT solutions, the 2 markers and the 4 markers. One more thing, students, in order to, like, you know, revise the chapter, I think that I can ask you one more question so that you remember that it is very important to watch the video to read the chapter. I have again and again repeated in my explanations to you that what do we mean by the largest garage sale in human history. Whenever you watch this video or any of the previous videos where I had discussed this, then after watching the videos, after liking the videos, do tell me that what do you understand by the largest garage sale in human history. So you can write your answers in the comment box that is provided below the video. That will be a proof that you have watched my video, and I'm very sure that you will be able to revise the chapter like this. So when you will try to answer any question of mine, then of course you are going to, you know, recap the chapter, you are going to review the chapter. Believe me or not, these things are very easy, but only when you remain tuned with what the teachers are like trying to teach you. So make notes because they are very essential. Do read the NCERT things. If you don't have the book, you can go through this PDF. Why? Because I have taken majority part of my PDF from the NCERT textbook so that you remain at ease. Another thing, students, do try to comment so that you are in a condition to know that whether your answers are right or not. Apart from that, if there is any query, if there is any doubt, feel free to contact me in any of the day hours, or you can WhatsApp me, you can email me, and try to be in connectivity so that we are able to solve the queries. And one more thing, there is a surprise for you. Whenever we'll end the chapter, any of the chapters, then on you can say after the end of the chapter, we can have a Zoom session where we can face to face talk and we can like solve our queries. But for that, it is very important that whenever you read a chapter, whenever you watch a video, then do write the problems that you come across, the things that you have not understood, so that whenever we have a Zoom session, you can ask me, I can answer you back. Till then, stay safe, stay well. Thank you so much.